Get started. We would like to welcome Mary Smith, who has graciously agreed to talk with us about the history of Bellaire. This project, A Living History of Bellaire, is sponsored by the Bellaire Public Library and funded by a grant for Next Level Leadership, University of Michigan. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
I don't get a chance to talk about this very often.
Well, we want to hear it all. We want to hear, how when you came here, a little bit of history maybe before you came here, what brought you here. So just tell us your story.
Well, my maiden name is Watrous.
Mm-hmm.
My father was one of 12. I have, last count, 38 cousins living in Antrim County.
I'll talk to you
And
later.
I researched a little bit. A lot of the Watrouses came from Scotland, and they came into Canada because it was so much easier to get into Canada than it was to come through New York Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And then they immigrated to Antrim County. So my great-grandfather homesteaded the farm that's at the very top of the hill on Cemetery Road. And my family are all buried in the Alden Cemetery, and there's a plot for me. My kids have a fit about that, but yeah. And so we really do go back, but they have always, the Watrouses are very quiet. They're very quiet people. They nod a lot and go, except for me.
Thank goodness.
Well, I was born at the top of, actually I was born on Harry Riley's farm. Now, Harry Riley goes way back.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was a friend of his, and he worked for him. Harry Riley had a centennial farm now, out Montgomery Road.
Okay.
It's out that way. And it was, at that time, 600 and some acres. It may still be. It's a very large farm. Herb Riley, who I understand just passed away, he inherited it, and it's going down the line. Well, my grandfather worked for him, and my dad worked for my grandfather. My mother was married when she was 16, with the option that Dad would help with the farm. So he did. So Grandpa got free help. And they lived in a log cabin. I do not know where everybody slept because it was a very small cabin. So the kids do a lot of eye rolling, yeah, you were born in a log cabin like Abraham Lincoln, Mom. Yep, we knew that, yeah. But you kind of, when you hear people talking, you kind of listen, And now Florence Riley is still alive. I haven't seen her in a while. I used to see them at the senior center. And I didn't know that Herb had died until a week later. But very, very nice. Their son, Carlton, who was the youngest of the boys, actually dismantled the log cabin and took the pieces to Texas. He lives in Texas, and he put the cabin back together. That was kind of like, oh, okay. So my father, we lived with my grandparents until, well, my brother was born, and he's 2 years younger than I am. So Grandpa got free hired help. And then Dad heard about a job in the city. And, oh, my mother was so happy. We moved to Howell first, and then they moved to Detroit. And he worked for a small tool factory down there that he heard about it from mutual friends up here. He worked there, oh gosh, I was 11 when we moved back to Bellaire. And my father had always wanted to move back, and Mom was dragging her feet. And so we came back, and I stayed with my grandparents every summer, every vacation. And right now, my cousin is living at the top of the hill, on Cemetery Road.
Wow.
I talked to him this morning. And so I guess the family has been here a long time. Yeah. But it's still, it has changed, of course, tremendously. I was in the 5th grade when we moved here.
Okay.
And I knew Mom wasn't happy, but Dad was really happy. And he worked the Riley farm on shares until they opened Lamina. And then again, the mutual friend that had worked down below said, you know, you can have a real good job. And Mom says, oh, let's do it. So we bought a little house in town, and I was in the 5th grade when we moved into town. So I'm really glad to be living here. I love it. When I came home from college, I looked for a job. The only jobs open for a woman, you either got married or you were a waitress. Those were your choices. And I didn't want to do either one. So I had a good friend that lived in Detroit and was working, and I went down and lived with her for a little while. Actually, her father was the station master for the train and through town, and her husband it's the big garage at the very end of town. It used to be called Hope's Garage. He was Stuart Hope. So I stayed with them for a little while until I got an apartment of my own. And then I met a man from down there. I worked with his brother, and we got married, had 3 children. But my husband loved it up here. And so as soon as we could, we bought property up here. And it was his intention, he was going to retire up here. And it was we built a cottage at the end of Lake Bellaire, a big cottage, so we could have kids and grandkids. Well, he has since died, and the kids weren't coming up. And I was at the far end of Lake Bellaire. The winters are very long, and my neighbors both left, and I came into town. It would take, a good half a day to come into town. I thought, I need something closer. So I found a really nice little town. It's in the village limits. It's right on the river. I'm still on the water. And it's an old Bellaire log cabin that's been remodeled umpteen times. But I wanted room for all the kids to come up. They're still not coming up.
That's hard to believe. I mean, that.
Well, my son has a boat, and he lives on a boat. You know, I think he said it's 65 feet. I mean, it's a
Big boat.
It's a big ass boat. Yes, it's got 4 bedrooms. I don't know how many bathrooms, but they're all this size.
Yeah.
Really, some of his bedrooms, are like
The
this
bed.
size, and the only fresh air is a little porthole this big in the wall. And so I go and stay on his boat for the day, and then I come home at night. Yeah. I just was up, he was in Bay Harbor.
Okay.
And it's wonderful, you have a great time, all of the neighbors. I'm a big Facebook fan. I talk to all of his friends. And so they all come over to meet me and bring bottles.
Oh, goody.
So it's very nice to go visit him. But, man, I stayed one night in there, and I kept going out in the hallway and going, there's no fresh air. And at home, living on the river, there's no traffic on the river at night. I sleep with my door wall open. And I have 4 dogs that make sure there's nothing on the deck, So I wasn't quite used to no oxygen. So I go for the day, but I come home at night. Yeah. And I have a daughter that is building a humongous house on Lake Michigan. 7 bedrooms. She has a cottage there now in Eastport. It's a good-sized cottage, but they wanted something bigger. And she has 4 children. her partner has 3 children,
Oh, wow.
and I have been kind of keeping track. It's being built now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's south of Eastport.
Okay.
And so I go and take pictures of what's happening and say, okay, this is what they're doing now. But she says, well, all the kids can come home. And I thought, well, sweetie, I hope they do, but if it's, yeah. And on the blueprints, and this is, oh, I can laugh about it now. On the blueprints, it was a room that my mom's bedroom. I thought, oh, isn't that nice? I will go out of my mind. Well, my bedroom is now a craft room, so it's okay. It's going to work out. But I love where I am right now. It's far enough out of town. You don't get the traffic. I have all the fresh air. I look across, let's see, that would be the east side of the river. It's all trees.
Oh.
It kind of would be backing up to the funeral home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are close to town.
Yeah, I am. Oh,
Yeah,
20
yeah.
minutes, I
Yeah,
can be here.
Yeah.
But I'm far enough away, and I have my neighbors on both sides, it's summer homes.
So in the wintertime it
So
isn't
in
a
the
lot of
wintertime,
traffic.
but then I discovered the senior center.
Ah.
And so for the last 2 years, I have been going to the senior center. I call and order my lunch, and I pick it up in the wintertime because I want to keep them open. But now they're opening. I think they're going to be open and serve lunches inside now.
Yep.
And I have old friends. One of my best friends in high school, I eat with her. Well, she passed away this last winter. But I eat lunch every day with her husband. And it's surprising how many people you end up knowing and come in and say, what are you doing here? I eat lunch here every day because I want to have them stay open.
Yep. Yeah.
And I see people.
Yeah.
No, I have no regrets about moving up here, and I have a lot of friends. I worked and I own 2 businesses in Detroit. So I have a lot of friends down there. And they come up in the summer. But mostly they stay home. Well, their children are down there. Yeah.
Right. So it isn't. Yeah. If grandkids are down there, that's the draw.
I have to encourage. His name is Fernando. I have to encourage Freddie. Come on, up here, Freddie.
There you
Look,
go.
I put a cookie back here. And when he gets home, I had to take my picture. And then
There you
I
go.
send it to her. I said, oh, Reagan, here's Grandma and Freddie. He's sitting on my head again. So, yeah, I'm trying to get them so they know me. But,
Yeah.
how has the town changed? Well, you have an awful lot more traffic. In the 50s, I graduated in 1956.
Okay.
It was not known as a tourist attraction. No. A lot of farmers came in mostly Saturday. I predate the theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm really old.
You've been here a while.
Yeah. And it's a great place to come home to. Yeah, I have no regrets at all.
What did you do so you went to high school here?
I came in the 5th grade.
Okay.
And at that time, the 7th on up to 12 were in what they called the study hall. They were all combined in one big room.
Oh, wow.
And then kindergarten through the 6th grade we all were in that great big brick building. I brought pictures of it that you can take pictures if you
Sure.
like. But it was wonderful. You knew everybody. And surprisingly, the teachers were very good. I know some of my kids said, yeah, but how good of an education did you get? Well, I went to Northwestern Michigan College. The second year they were open. I was one of the top students. I was surprised at how much I knew.
You got from being in Bellaire.
Yeah.
Well, it was a smaller school too, and
You got a lot of individual attention. My family had 4 children. I'm the oldest. My brothers have both died.
Mm.
My sister lives in town here, but her children live in Boise, Idaho.
Oh boy.
So, right, she takes some nice long vacations. She's in Boise now. Um, but we like living here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I have no regrets about that. I go down if there's a special occasion,
Mm-hmm.
but now, well, my sister dog sits for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. So when you were a kid, when you were growing up as a kid, what was fun? What was recreational for you?
Well, actually, we um, we lived in town, and there was a hill out. Oh, I'm trying to think who lives on it now. Well, Marty Ritt lives on it, I know.
Mhm.
But there's a big hill behind the school.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like being cold. Even then I didn't. But my brothers and sisters, that was a big event, was
Mhm.
sliding down the hill. And there'd sometimes be 20 kids out there going
Sliding down the hill.
Yeah. Now this predated Shanty Creek,
Mhm.
Shoes Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never learned to ski. Have no desire to. Yeah, that's really old, isn't it? I predate Shanty Creek. Ugh.
Yeah.
But we had school plays.
Mm-hmm.
We had usually dances on Friday night. A lot of school functions. Yeah.
So that would
School
be,
was
yeah.
a really big part of my life. Yeah.
Now, where did your family, I mean, did they grocery shop in town? Did they?
There were two grocery
Mhm.
stores in town. One was Davies Market,
Mm-hmm.
and one was called Steffens. Let me think where Davies would have been right about where the post office is now.
Oh, okay.
And Steffens was across the street. And then we had a place down at the very end, I'm trying to think, it's like a gift store now. It's near the bar.
So it's,
It's-
uniquely,
Yes,
uniquely north.
north, yeah. That was called Hurley Highs. And Hurley Highs had everything.
Mm.
You went in there and they had shoes, they had clothing, I mean, winter coats, T-shirts. I mean, literally,
That's where you shopped.
I do not remember my family going to Traverse City at all.
Mm.
Not at all.
Well, it would have been quite a trip then.
Well, it would. Yeah, it would have. And of course, all the people in town had cars, but nothing like the traffic you have now.
Mm-mm.
No, and it wasn't unusual to find a horse. Now,
Really?
I don't remember any buggies like you see the Amish, but they had wagons.
Oh.
Open wagons, and the kids all piled in the back, and they had one seat in the front, and the driver and usually his wife sat in the front. And really, that was not unusual to come in. We didn't. My grandfather had a car, and my
Okay.
dad had a car. But not unusual to see horses on Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you said your dad worked on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
What did they grow? What was their crop or crops?
A lot of potatoes. A potato farm, really. On Facebook, they had an old building. This is just this week. Yeah, they had a big opening with a metal door on the top that went to the basement, and they were discussing what did they put down there. And I went on and said, they rolled potatoes down. You dumped them down a chute in, and then they put them in the basement because it was cold. You could keep potatoes all winter. You put your squash down there and your pumpkins down there, and you put your canned goods down there.
Oh, okay.
Now, my grandmother cooked and canned, and my mother didn't like that. Yeah, she cooked because she had to, but she didn't want to. Yeah, but we had freezers.
Oh.
We had electricity by then.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my grandmother, when they lived on the top of, I call it Cemetery Hill, she canned everything. I mean, it was a lot of work. But,
Right.
That
That's
was
how
what
you
you
ate.
ate.
Right.
Yes, yeah. And of course, everybody had cows.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
For milking and
And we had a churn. I still have that. The grandma's churn. We made butter. They were very, very self-sufficient. Yeah.
I think everybody had to be back then too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I just,
And you had a big garden, and the
Yeah.
kids had to weed it. Did not like that either.
So now, did you go away to school, or did you?
I graduated from Bellaire.
Right.
So from kindergarten to the 5th grade, we lived in Detroit.
Right.
Until Harry Riley offered my dad a job.
Right.
And, my mother wasn't happy about it. But, yeah, we all were, because we had spent time with my
You said the
grandparents.
summers, yeah.
Yeah. And my mother had a beautiful coat. It was dark red, and it had fur around here and down. Oh, I picked up a dog on my way out. Yeah. And one of my early memories is her hanging it in the closet and saying, "Well, I'll never wear that again." Now I think back and I thought, wow, that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because her life really did change.
Yeah. So she liked the city more, you said. Yeah.
Mom was a stay-at-home wife and mother, and
Okay.
yeah. I don't think she ever held an outside job. She was married at 16
That's what you said.
and had me exactly a year later.
Right.
Yeah. My birthday's the 30th of July, and they were married a year, the 31st of July. Yeah. So, yeah, she probably wasn't. Later on, she was married 3 times. And she owned Yetto's Cabins up in Ellsworth.
I know the name.
And Thale Yetto.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a stepfather. It was like her 3rd husband. Yeah. But she got to be there, but she saw a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had cottages that were full all the time. So
Right.
that was probably, she liked that part of the life. Yeah.
So what did you do after high school?
I went to Northwestern Michigan.
That's right, you said that.
Yeah. And then I went to Central
Okay.
and came home, and there was no work.
That's what you said.
So I moved down to Detroit and stayed with friends. I actually owned 2 businesses.
Oh, you do now?
No, I did
Done.
then. I sold them and bought my house on the river.
So what were the businesses?
Well, I had a cleaning service.
Mm-hmm.
I had 50-some women working for me.
Wow.
I covered all the suburban areas. I traveled, I lived in Livonia,
Mm-hmm.
Farmington Hills. My children went to Farmington Hills schools.
Mm-hmm.
Then I moved to Howell, and I would travel to the suburban areas, and we covered, I had from Troy all the way.
Wow.
I mean, 50-some women, yeah. It was very lucrative.
I bet.
And I had an office, in an office building on 8 Mile, because my neighbor complained because I was interviewing women and it was traffic next door to her. So I went and got an office, which made it easier. It really
And you
did.
could go home.
Yeah. And I could go home and, yeah.
Be home.
Of course, the women that worked for me, I had my home number, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then my mother married a man that owned a real estate company, and my daughter married him. And
Oh, okay.
so they own Suburban Showplace in
Okay.
Novi. It's a big convention center.
Oh, okay.
And so my grandchildren all work there.
Oh, okay.
And I did their concessions.
Oh.
So I sold popcorn, ice cream, roasted almonds, caramel corn. I can make an ice cream cone in 10 seconds.
I
1, 2,
bet.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
A lot of ice
I mean,
cream.
A lot of ice cream, yeah. And there's a lot of profit in a box of popcorn.
Yes, there is.
Of course,
So-
you have to lift 50-pound bags. I mean,
To get it up there, yeah. So, but wasn't it a little unusual for women to own businesses when you started?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah. My son-in-law said I need somebody honest because he took a commission. I mean, I paid him. Just I don't even remember what it was now. But you don't cheat your son-in-law.
No.
No. You make sure it's even.
Yeah.
And he knew that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So his name is Blair Bowman. And my
Okay.
children are all Bowmans.
Okay.
Which in downstate that name
That's a
means
name.
something. Up here, it's, yeah. So, yeah, my grandchildren are all Bowmans.
Okay. Okay.
So it was very lucrative. I retired because my knees gave out. And I worked till I was 67.
Wow.
And we had took it home just to keep them open. I'm a better cook than they are, but yeah. But I used to go downtown and you always see people you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Now not so much.
No. And traffic. But when you live alone I even make my dog food. Yeah. I have 4 very spoiled dogs. But I do see people. And now my friends from down in the Detroit area, they are coming up. But one of my best friends, she says, I don't know how you can get around up here. I would get lost. Everything looks the same. I go, what do you mean everything looks the same? She says, it's all trees. It's all trees.
And you went, yes!
Yeah, she was raised in Detroit where every street has a sign on the corner.
It tells you where you're at.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that looks the same.
Yeah. And so she still lives in Livonia, but she makes a trek up here. But she said it's getting to be a long trip when you live alone and you drive it alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of traffic and yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I take 27 now. I don't go.
Yeah, we go down
75.
127 or 131 and cut over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we have family in Saginaw. So we do
And
the
then
same
you
thing.
hit 96 at Lansing. Oh, yeah.
Heaven forbid you make one wrong turn.
Well, I know the way now, but for anyone that wants advice, I find a big truck and I get behind him and I stay there. And every once in a while they'll go and I'll go.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I
don't
feel
care how
safe
slow
right
you're
here.
going, I'm going to stay right here.
So anything else you want us to know about Bellaire that you can think of?
Well, it was a farming community. Really, when I was growing up, we would come into town once a week. And I think I mentioned it was not unusual to see horses on Main Street. And you knew everybody. You know, you'd go to Davies and the checkout clerk knew your name. And you know, I do remember my mother at one point even gave her list to one of the clerks, and they went and got it.
I did hear that. I
Yeah.
did hear that.
Yeah.
The old country store kind of idea where they just filled your order for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't find that now.
And I mentioned Hurley Highs. Everybody went there. And it's something kind of, I don't know who will be seeing this, but I have a very good friend. She lives in New Mexico right now. She graduated with me, and they were very poor. And she needed school shoes. And they went in and they tried them all on, and she's on the heavy side, and so I'm assuming even then her foot was wide, and there was only one pair that fit her, and they were too much money. So her mother says, we'll come back. Well, they left. The next morning, the shoes are on her porch.
Small town. Small town. That's
Small
sweet.
town.
Yep.
that's Roger Crandall.
Okay.
And I'm looking to see, that might be, oh, that's Bob Bacon.
So is
Nancy
that-
Bacon.
A reunion, class reunion, you
It
mean?
had to be, and that's Harry Cook.
Yeah, so that's...
Jim Lewis. Oh, Jack Unger.
Wow, you
See,
remember all these
I-
people.
Yeah. Marion?
Where was it taken?
Bill? Oh, I don't recognize
Looks almost like a
that.
gymnasium or something, but...
When Marion retired, she brought over a big box of pictures.
Oh.
And so I went through them. A lot of these that's Marion right there.
Oh, okay.
Her father delivered gas.
Oh,
They
okay.
lived in town.
Okay.
And that is Evelyn Mincer.
Okay.
And that's Cam. Let me think what her last name was.
Just friends.
Yeah.
Just friends together.
Yeah, Camilla. Oh.
More family.
Mm-hmm. Nancy Bacon, Bonnie Lewis, Sylvia, her parents owned Bellaire log cabins.
Okay.
Me, Marion Powell, her dad
Mhm.
delivered gas.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's my mother.
Oh, wow.
And that is Cam again. Oh, and I should know. Maltby. Camilla
Oh,
Maltby.
okay. I'm just gonna... There you go.
Now, Harry, this is a good picture of Harry Cook. He is a minister now.
Oh, really? Is
and
he...
quite well known. He
Really?
has written books.
So this is Harry
Cook.
Cook.
His father was a prosecuting attorney.
Oh, interesting.
He lived across the street from me.
Oh, wow.
And I just grabbed, let's see. Oh, this is all reunion. Okay. These are just names.
Mm-hmm. Wow, but...
Yeah, this is an all-school reunion.
Oh, very cool.
These are all things that Marion had this big box she brought
That's what you
me.
said. And you
And
just went through it?
you know what? I had it sitting on my sun porch for probably a year because she's moved to Florida, and I probably will never see her again.
Oh,
And every
okay.
time I started looking through it, I'd start crying.
Oh, no.
So I left it there, and my daughter came and took all the things out and put them in a drawer.
25th reunion.
Yeah.
Now, was that the school?
Uh-huh. And that is the old school. I think it's still there. Maybe not, though. But
So is it the same site as the current school? Same area?
I'm trying to think the name of the street. It's the one beyond the Methodist Church. And you turn left and go one block, and there's the
Well,
schoolhouse
there's
is
Forest
right
Home, but it's the one up from Forest Home?
there.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of peeking through. I don't know if we can get them all in here,
Yeah.
but... Oh, no, see
Okay.
this?
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is Bellaire High School.
Yeah.
In
And that's
1990.
what it looked like when I went there.
That is... Yeah.
Now, if
It's a
you
pretty big
would
school.
like to keep that, there were grades kindergarten through high school.
Wow.
Yeah, they were all in one.
That is
in one-
very cool.
And they had this horrible fire alarm. It was a big tube,
Oh, really?
and you had to slide down it. Oh, I hated
Oh,
that with a passion. I hated that with a passion.
Oh, no. Oh, somebody's first communion or wedding.
Well, that's Roger Crandall. That's Marion. Oh, that's me.
What's this one?
I don't even remember who those are. That's me again.
Just love the pants. With the cuffed jeans.
Well, now that's another thing. When I went to school here, we were not allowed to wear slacks.
Mm-hmm.
It was only dresses.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 7th grade, they said you could wear slacks, but not blue jeans.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I was a senior, we were allowed to wear blue jeans.
Oh, wow. I got my first blue jeans when I was in high school, and we did not wear... I graduated in 75, and we did not wear... And it was a public high school. We did not wear pants unless it was part of a pantsuit.
Okay.
You know, they were... That was in Saginaw, but it was like a team of some kind.
That is the girls' basketball team.
Oh, wow.
And that is one of the very first ones they had. That's Margie Bellaire. That's Cam. That's my cousin. Her name is Carol. Oh, she's dead now. That's the one that had the cow manure on her shoes.
Oh, jeez.
let me see some of the others. Hattie. What was her last name?
It's a pretty big team.
Yeah. Yep, that's me back there.
Mm-hmm.
Joanne. Marion.
Yeah.
Jeannie Butler. That's Nancy Blake. A lot of them are dead.
Yeah.
Jeannie Rogers, Doc Rogers' daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Donna Gregory.
Very
I see
cool.
her at the senior center.
Oh, that's cool. And then what is this?
Okay, those were our uniforms for marching. I was a majorette.
Oh, so was I. How cool. I'm going to take that one. Let's let them see that one. They're coming back. Did you know that?
Oh,
Boyne City has 2 majorettes in their band now.
oh, okay. And these
Oh,
are
they're-
the cheerleaders.
Oh, yeah. The long skirts.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. It's like lots of family pictures.
Well, that's Roger Crandall.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me. I don't know what he was doing sleeping. They were my next door neighbors. There were 4 boys. They lived at that big brick house right on the corner where you turned to go up to the school.
Oh, okay.
Harry and Marion and Alan DeGoe. He was our valedictorian. And I never knew what happened to him.
Hmm.
Devonna Robinson. Marion, I don't know who that was.
Hmm.
We were pretending to smoke. Now, none of us ever smoked. I never heard I never heard of marijuana. Really, I was out of college even.
Yeah,
I mean,
before it was even really
yeah,
a thing.
I go, oh, what? And I've never tried it.
Mm-hmm.
My son says, "Oh, Mom, you'd laugh all the time." I said,
I already
I know,
laugh all the time now.
"Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. So this looks like it's the band and the basketball team? Is that the band?
yeah." And we had capes. Well, I didn't. I was a majorette, so
Right.
I got a little short skirt
Right.
and boots.
Oh, yes.
And the reason I was a majorette was because the boots fit. It wasn't like I had a lot of rhythm.
Is this like prom?
Yep. Yeah, that's Alan DeGoe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was valedictorian and very smart. And I never knew what happened to him.
Hmm.
And that was Harry Cook. He is a minister,
Mhm.
and he's written books. And that's Linda Staub. Her dad was the station master.
Oh, okay.
And me.
And you.
She was my best friend.
Aw.
And I saw a lot of Harry. He used to come over, and underneath my... he played an instrument. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, he'd go out and he'd play the instrument, and my dad would say... He'd call up his dad and say, "Tell him to go home." It was right outside